Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Texas Sports World, formerly Bevo's Boulevard or Bevo Boulevard. I don't even, yeah, there we go. Um, as you can see, we've kind of got some new surroundings here. I got a lot of stuff I'm trying to do at the same time. I got this blog that's kind of rolling around on the bottom of your screen. Be sure to check that out. It'll be in the description below as well. So funny story. This is my third attempt to record this. The first time I got hungry and, can't really operate on an empty stomach, so I had to make me a bowl of ramen. It was delicious, by the way. And then the second time, my computer crashed. So I'm going to try to get through this for a third time and give you guys a good video. So I guess the kind of the topic that I'm gonna hit on basically this whole episode, it's not gonna be that long. It's just probably gonna be, 20, 30 minutes, just a quick little breakdown of kind of how I see things unfolding the next couple of days. So there's kind of this notion around the Texans, this idea about like, in Casario we trust, let Nick cook and all that. And sometimes there's argument to it. There's an argument like, okay, there's an argument for it, and you kind of have to listen to it, especially after what he was able to pull off last year. Um, but last year aside, okay, because I don't know if you'll see a team. Ooh, I got the burps. If you'll see a team duplicate that again anytime soon. I mean, then again, I could be wrong. Usually, once one team does it, other teams think it's possible, and more teams start to do it. But that's neither here nor there. Basically, what I'm saying is you may start to, when you start to put together the moves that he's made, just this offseason, there's a story in between those lines, for instance, the trading Malik Collins when you think you're getting the guy that just went to the Jaguars, Eric Armstead. There we go. When you think you're getting Eric Armstead, you do that to free up some cap space, and you're like, oh, okay. As a fan, you're kind of thinking, okay, they did that for a reason. They saved that it was about a $6 million save. So you save $6 million and you're thinking, okay, that's got to go somewhere, right? And then today, the news comes out that they restructured Shaq Mason's contract. And if it's a basic restructure, it'll save us basically about $5 million ish around there. So you save money there, right? And you're like, okay, so you're saving all this money. Where is it really going? Where is what's the move, Nick? What are you up to back there? And then also this morning you also have the trade where we traded back from 23 to 42, and then we gained a second pick for next year. I think we gained a 6th round pick this year and gave them a 7th or something along those lines. So overall, you net an extra 2nd round pick next year. But inevitably, when you trade out of the 1st round, you lose that 5th year option that you get on a player. Granted, some teams might not value that as much. It's really about the depth of the class. In this one, you've got depth at several positions, namely wide receiver, which is kind of a position that the Texans were thought to be. We're going to get a draft. We're going to draft at, and that still could be, considering they have 2 picks in the 2nd round now. But going back to a couple of days earlier when we trade Malik Collins, to the 49ers, you were already in need of a defensive tackle. You're already in need of one at least to at the time you were thinking to pair up with Malik Collins. And once you trade Collins, you save that $6 million, but now you create a problem where now you not only do you need one, but you need 2 defensive tackles. And right now, and you missed out on all of the defensive tackles you wanted, right? Obviously, maybe they got they got overpaid in the Texans' eyes. They weren't willing to shell out that kind of money in the grand scheme of things. And that's kind of that is, as I said, yesterday, that's kind of been the Texans' MO as an organization. They kind of just they seldomly open up the checkbook. They kind of do it when they want, you know. So now you create this problem where you need a player, right? You need a defensive tackle, and you're kind of falling out of the range of Byron Murphy. You're falling out of the range of Johnny Newton. So you kind of you put yourself in a corner. If you created an extra issue, you created more work for yourself, and it just seems like it's very obvious that this is not how they intended this to go. And I think maybe they pulled the trigger on that. I think if they, in hindsight, 3 days later or 2 days later, however long it's been, they'd probably say they wouldn't have done that. But at the same time, you had already executed that trade when you had not executed, but you were already in talks for that trade when you signed Danielle Hunter. And that was kind of the reason why that trade fell through, because you had to give him give him the money instead. And so you had a choice, and that's what makes it frustrating. Is they very, very clearly had a choice, and they decided to do this. And so and the only way to keep yourself sane, and the only way to make you not like forehead, is to think, well, maybe there's a plan. Maybe they're getting these picks, acquiring this capital, getting flexibility to package it together to make a move, right? Okay. All right, let's talk about that. So you package it together to trade back up into the first round, and maybe in the midst of that, you net a pick in like the fourth round or fifth round or something, right? So now you're back in the first round, but inevitably, either you're gonna have to trade the second round pick you got last year and put it into that deal, or one of the second round picks you have this year, and now you're in the same boat. Now you're back to where you started. So it just makes the whole thing very confusing. It makes the whole thing, just kind of head scratching, because in all reality, you could have kept the roster the same. Obviously, losing out on Cashman, you get rid of Cashman, not get rid of, but you lose Cashman, lose Grenard. That's fine. And you sign Al-Shaair. So you sign Al-Shaair, you trade for Mixon, and you sign Hunter, right? Boom. You could have just brought everybody back that you had. Like, the defense didn't play terrible, because you have players that know you have players like, excuse me, today I see Tier Tart is going on a visit to the Bengals, and it's why? Why is that not after you lose out on everybody else? Why not just go back and kind of have those talks and try to bring those guys back? They know the system. Tyler Tart played pretty well when he came on last year. You bring him back. Maybe go back, get Hassan Ridgeway, something. Then you can kind of risk drafting a defensive tackle at a lower pick, and it not being a complete killer in the grand scheme of things. There was different avenues to go down, and they for whatever reason that tells me, I heard something today that kind of caught my attention. Maybe Nick's draft board, his first round grade is 1 through 42, and he sees the first 42 picks as graded as could be first round picks, right? So in his mind, maybe he is just picking up an extra second round pick and not sacrificing the first round pick. In the grand scheme of things, he is, but according to his board, the players that he sees, the players that he wants, he's he still has a first round pick in his mind. And you kind of get into the dicey game of like the what ifs. You get into the dicey game of value and value charts and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you created another problem. Now you need not one but two of the things you already needed one of, and you may have to lose out on another player in the draft because of that. Because you're gonna have to. You have two options here. You either don't draft a defensive tackle, don't sign another. They got to do something, and so there really is no other option. You gotta do something, right? So, you know, they've saved some money. There's been some rumblings about Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, but T. Higgins, I mean, it's been T. Higgins. I feel like it's been more of Twitter conjecture more than anything. Um, but not T. Higgins. Stephon Diggs. T. Higgins, I feel like is a little bit more curious because you've got Joe Mixon saying things. Yeah, like Joe Mixon, quoting his tweet with the eyes, tweeting about what he posted on Instagram stories. This, that, and the third. You got Titus Howard doing the same. So it's like they're trolling us. They're basically trolling us. So it's it makes it's kind of crazy because we really shouldn't have even been in this position, and now we might be going after a receiver, and it just seems like out of all drafts, this would be the one to draft a receiver in. Not go. Don't get me wrong. Like I would welcome the idea of Stephon Diggs or T. Higgins, but in the big picture, I'm not so sure that would be the greatest you know move for our franchise because like we talked about yesterday, we're not one move away. We're not one move away from getting to the Super Bowl. Okay, our Super Bowl window is cracked open. It's not fully open yet. So I think that just means they have to have a plan. They might package it up, use picks, use that second round pick from next year to keep that second round pick they have now, to keep both second round picks they have now. Find a way to trade back in so you have 3 picks within the top 30. That would be, or within the top 60. That would be what I would. That would be the only thing that would make sense for all these moves, because then maybe you can get, you can trade up there and get Byron Murphy, and then also get Xavier Legette, and then also get, you know, Braden Fit, or the Fiske guy from Florida State. So there are still options on the table, but it seems like the options that are there seem so obvious. It seems like those the ones I just spoke about seem like the best routes forward from what they have done. You know, um, that now that kind of talk speaks to the draft picks themselves, but the money saving, it doesn't make any sense because you save the money for free agents and signing guys. That you have a draft allocation that doesn't really go towards that, so it's a little bit different. Um, so I think that's kind of what the move is right now, and I think that um, maybe there's a defensive tackle out there, and I maybe, and I read that Tim Settle, the defensive tackle, or was it Tim Settle, or I think it was Fatukasi. Yeah, I think it was that he um, when he played for the Jets in that Tim Salah scheme. He actually graded out better um, than he did with the Bills. So maybe that means that there's a schematic fit there, and maybe he could be a serviceable defensive tackle next to Fatukasi. That is a possibility. But you would like to have a little bit more of a guarantee, a little bit more of a um, you know, and maybe if you just have a stable of guys, that's fine. Keep guys fresh, but make sure that they're actually serviceable. You don't want to just sign guys to sign guys. And I think that's kind of the position they've put themselves in by missing out on the people they've missed out on. Is now they don't have a choice. Now they have to sign guys to just sign guys. And now, you know, Nick is back. And that's what makes like the Mike Ford signing is still baffling to me. And the Lonnie Johnson, like no offense to those guys. I'm sure they'll be fine, but you could have got those guys now. Those guys probably wouldn't have been signed now. So like why all the money you're saving, you could have more money to maybe you do have to trade for T. Higgins, or if you do trade for T. Higgins, you have money to give him an extension, and then also give Nico his extension when his time comes. Things like that. And then you don't have, and then you, yeah. So there's a lot of a lot of different moving parts, you know, coming from, just these last few moves. And, maybe tomorrow we see something, or maybe there's some like some news, some reports, something. Um, and if that's the case, then great. I hope, and if it's big enough, then I'll stop. I work tomorrow, but I'll stop and I'll do a quick little video and try to put it up. I feel like if it's big enough, but if not, I'll definitely have I'll have an article about it coming out, whatever it is. So, like I said earlier, the website's scrolling on the bottom of your screen right here. Check it out. TexasSportsWorld.weebly.com/blog/blog. Um, Check that out. But that's kind of, I just want to do a quick little video. I did the hour-long one yesterday, but just wanted to get a quick little video out about this topic. I believe I'm going to have another friend of mine coming on in a couple of days. I'm not sure exactly when. Um, but I'll have another guest on, and he's a Colts fan, so we'll have a lot to discuss there, I'm sure. He's very, very high on AR. We kind of got into a discussion about the comparison between AR and CJ, and all about that. So that'll be fun. I'm still working on something for Texas stuff. I have a line in the water, if you will. I'm just waiting on the fish to bite. So once I get some more news on that, I'll be posting about that and letting everybody know. Stay on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, y'all have a great rest of your day or morning or night, whatever time you are listening to this at. And I will see y'all probably tomorrow. Uh, oh, what happened? Oh, there we go. Adios.